Ladies, if you're dating in your 60s, let me ask you this. Have you ever sit there to stare at your phone, waiting for a message, a call, some sign that he's still thinking of you? In the beginning, he was so present, thoughtful, attentive, almost too good to be true. And now, it's silence. No explanation, just distance. At this age, love feels different. We're wiser, yes, but also more tender. Because when someone pulls away now, it doesn't just sting, it reopens every wound we thought had healed. If you've ever whispered to yourself, maybe I was foolish to believe this could work, then this video is for you. Hi, it's Vernon again. What I'm about to say may surprise you, but hear me out. Sometimes when a man's feelings grow stronger, he doesn't lean in, he pulls back. Not because he doesn't care, but because after a lifetime of heartbreaks, real connection feels terrifying, too rare, too precious, and too powerful to risk ruining. But here's the truth. If he's gone quiet, it might not be rejection at all. It might be love, hiding behind fear. Before we dive in, be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Here, we talk honestly about love, confidence, and meaningful relationships after 60, because this stage of life deserves clarity, courage, and connection more than ever. Now, if you've been losing sleep wondering if he's slipping away, this first sign is going to change everything you think you know about how mature men handle deep attraction.
Number 1. His actions speak louder than his distance. The first sign that you're deeply in his head, even when he seems distant, is that his actions still show he cares, sometimes more than his words ever did. Let me explain what this looks like. Maybe he's not texting you good morning every day like he used to, but he still shows up when you mention your car is making that strange noise. He might not call as frequently, but he remembers that you have that doctor's appointment on Thursday and quietly checks in to see how it went. This happens because when a man is genuinely hooked on you, his protective and caring instincts don't just disappear because he's processing his emotions. In fact, they often become stronger, even if he's pulling back verbally or emotionally. Alana is one of the most loyal viewers of this channel. She's 62. And a few weeks ago, she reached out to me via email after watching one of my videos. In her message, she wrote, "He used to call me every morning, but now sometimes I don't hear from him for 2 days. I think he's losing interest." But then she told me something that really caught my attention. Even during those quiet periods, David would still check her medicine cabinet when he visited, making sure she had her blood pressure medication. He'd notice when her porch light was flickering and replace it without being asked. When she mentioned feeling under the weather, he'd show up with soup, not with grand gestures or long conversations, just quiet care. Actions, I told her, are often more honest than words. And I believe this deeply. When someone cares about you, really cares, their instinct to protect and nurture doesn't switch off just because they're struggling with vulnerability. Why do men do this? Because showing up through actions feels safer than expressing feelings through words. It's his way of staying connected to you while he figures out how to handle the intensity of what he's feeling. So, if he's distant with his words, but still present with his care, don't dismiss that. That's not mixed signals, that's a man who's hooked, but protecting his heart while he processes his emotions. And this leads us naturally to our second sign, because when a man is this emotionally invested, he becomes protective in ways he might not even realize.
Number 2, he gets jealous in subtle ways. Have you ever paid attention to how he reacts in those subtle moments? Like when you casually mention another man or receive attention from someone else? His jealousy doesn't come with drama or confrontation. Instead, it shows up in quiet, almost imperceptible ways, the kind that reveal just how closely he's watching, even when he seems distant. A man who's truly hooked may not confess his feelings, but he absolutely reacts when you give your attention, your time, or your energy to someone else. And at our age, this jealousy is rarely about possession. It's about the fear of losing something precious. This might look like him asking casual questions about your lunch with your friend Margaret, or suddenly becoming more attentive after you mention spending time with your neighbor. He might make subtle comments about that man who helped you at the grocery store, or his mood might shift slightly when you talk about how much fun you had at your book club. The key here is subtlety. He's not making scenes or demanding explanations. Instead, he's revealing through these small reactions that he's been thinking about you more than he's letting on. His emotional investment shows up as protectiveness, and protectiveness often reveals itself through these moments of quiet jealousy. When a man is emotionally attached but trying to maintain distance, seeing you connect with others triggers his fear of loss. It forces him to confront just how much he actually cares, even when he's trying to keep those feelings at arm's length. Now, I want to hear from you. Have you noticed these subtle signs of jealousy in your own relationships? Drop a comment below and let me know, because understanding these patterns can be incredibly revealing. There's an old saying that goes, "We never know the worth of water until the well runs dry." And sometimes a man doesn't realize how hooked he is until he sees the possibility of losing you to someone else's attention. And when jealousy shows up, another sign usually follows: his struggle with consistency.
Number 3, he's inconsistent because he's conflicted. The deepest waters are often the most turbulent. And when a man is inconsistent with you, hot one day, cold the next, it's usually not because he doesn't care. It's because he cares too much and doesn't know how to handle it. This third sign might be the most confusing one, because inconsistency feels like rejection. One week he's warm, attentive, calling you every evening. The next week he's distant, taking hours to respond to messages, seeming preoccupied when you're together. And your mind immediately goes to the worst-case scenario. He's changing his mind about you. When a man is genuinely hooked on you, especially at this stage of life when vulnerability feels more complicated, he's often fighting an internal battle. Part of him wants to dive deeper into his feelings for you, and part of him is terrified of being that open, that exposed. Tana's story is one that stayed with me, because it shows just how confusing love can feel, even later in life. She's 64, and she happens to be my wife's yoga instructor. Over time, we got to know each other through casual chats after class. At the time, she was dating Robert, a 67-year-old widower, and she just couldn't make sense of his behavior. She said,
One minute, he's bringing me flowers and talking about weekend trips, and the next, he disappears for 3 days and barely returns my calls. I feel like I'm on an emotional roller coaster. She told me, I don't understand him. One minute, he's bringing me flowers and talking about weekend trips, and the next, he disappears for 3 days and barely returns my calls. I feel like I'm on an emotional roller coaster. 3 months later, Robert finally opened up to her. Tana, he said, I was scared of how much I was starting to care. Every time I felt myself getting closer to you, I pulled back because I didn't want to get hurt again. But I couldn't stay away because you were always on my mind. This is the psychology of a man who's hooked but conflicted. The stronger his feelings grow, the more his protective instincts kick in. He's not playing games. He's genuinely struggling between his desire to connect and his fear of vulnerability. So when you see this hot and cold behavior, don't automatically assume disinterest. Often it's the opposite. It's a man wrestling with feelings that have become more powerful than he expected. And finally, the clearest sign you're in his head is when he can't stop circling back to you.
Number 4, he always finds his way back. One of the clearest signs that you're still in his heart, especially in relationships after 60, is this. No matter how far he drifts, he always finds his way back to you. This is the pattern that reveals everything. He might go quiet for a few days, but then he texts you about something that reminded him of you. He might seem emotionally unavailable for a week, but then he shows up with your favorite coffee just because he was in the neighborhood. He creates distance, but he can't maintain it because you're occupying too much space in his mind. When a man is truly hooked, you become his reference point. You're the person he wants to share his day with, even when he's trying to convince himself that pulling away is the safer choice. You're the one he thinks of when something funny happens, when something goes wrong, when he sees something beautiful. And I want to say this especially for those of you navigating love after 60. This stage of life brings a different kind of love, quieter but deeper. Men our age, we don't chase with flowers and poetry the way we used to. We chase with presence, with consistency, with the quiet pull of returning. This isn't about desperation or neediness, it's about emotional gravity. He's drawn back to you because you've become essential to his sense of connection and joy, even when he's afraid of vulnerability. And let me tell you, after 60, vulnerability hits differently. We've loved, we've lost, we've built walls to survive. So when a connection breaks through those walls, it stays with us. I think of it this way. You know how a compass always points north? When you're in a man's heart, really in it, you become his north. He might drift east, west, or south, but eventually that needle always swings back to you. There's truth in the old saying, the heart wants what it wants. And when a man's heart wants you, especially later in life, no amount of emotional distance can keep him away for long. He'll always find a reason, he'll always find a way. Because even if he's quiet, deep down, you are home. Now, you can save this video because you're going to want to come back to these insights when you need clarity about his behavior. These patterns don't change. They're as reliable as sunrise. Because when a man acts distant but keeps circling back, it's not confusion, it's proof you're unforgettable.
So there you have it, 4 clear signs that even when he acts distant, you're absolutely
in his head. His actions still show care despite emotional distance. He displays subtle jealousy when your attention goes elsewhere. His inconsistency reveals his internal struggle, and he uses his distance to protect himself, avoiding vulnerability as a defense. A distant man isn't always a detached man. Often, distance is his way of processing feelings he doesn't know how to express, especially at this stage of life where emotional vulnerability can feel more complex and more frightening. After 60, we've all been through enough to know that the heart doesn't follow logic. Sometimes the very strength of someone's feelings makes them step back, not step forward. It's not rational, but love rarely is. The deepest connections often begin in confusion, grow through uncertainty, and flourish when we finally have the courage to embrace vulnerability. Don't let his distance convince you that you don't matter. Sometimes, distance is just his way of protecting something precious while he finds the courage to claim it. Have you recognized these patterns in your own relationships? Have you found the wisdom to see through the distance to the truth underneath? Share your experiences in the comments below. Your story might be exactly what another woman needs to gain clarity about her own situation. And remember to hit that like button and subscribe for more insights about living your most authentic and empowered life after 60. Check the description below for additional resources that will support your journey toward becoming the confident, emotionally intelligent woman you were always meant to be. You deserve to be with someone who sees your worth, even when they're still finding the courage to express it. And I'm Vernon, and thanks for watching.